similar to the mechanic that has all the tools in his garage, and you say, oh, this mechanic got a whole bunch of tools, and he probably don't know what he's doing. But what happens is that mechanic knows the exact tool. Welcome to Debt Free in IT. I'm your host, Mike. This podcast is for anyone who's looking to get into the IT industry, whether it's for a career change or you're just interested. I think you come to the right place. In today's episode, I'm answering a listener's question. So this listener sent in a question stating that they're new to the industry, so they're still wet behind the ears, and not having any real knowledge of the industry. What would be the best route to go when learning the absolute basics? They also mentioned that they went to WGU and they saw a couple of other options. They mentioned the full stack. So with full stack, I'm assuming that they are talking about the computer science degree. So usually anything full stack has to deal with building applications. So you have a couple of programming languages you need to learn within that degree. So usually all of that falls up under computer science. So with WGU, they have a couple of different options. So they have that computer science degree. They also have a networking and security degree. I think they have an IT management degree. So they have a couple of different options for you to choose from. But this listener wants to know, what's my advice? So when I look at learning the basics for someone who's coming into the industry with no experience at all, the first thing is we need to make sure we get that person familiar with just working on a basic computer. So being on Windows devices. Also, you have Linux, where the majority of the time, I would think that most places will have mostly Windows PCs, but then on the IT support side, you may have a couple different flavors of Linux that you may have to know or you may be working on. All of this is going to depend on the organization. So Windows is probably the most popular because that's what most people are used to working on. They're usually the most affordable, besides some Linux, because Linux, like I said, is open source. But you're usually going to run into one of these two different flavors. Every once in a while, you might have someone that has an Apple PC that you may end up having to troubleshoot or something like that. But for now, we're just going to look at the basic operating systems of Windows and Linux. So the first thing I suggest is getting some basic knowledge of these two operating systems. And later on, I'm going to go into what could be a potential roadmap for you to go in and learn these two operating systems. And then once we get through with the computer basics and the operating system, so once you get comfortable maneuvering around that, you got different shortcuts. You're comfortable just maneuvering around that operating system. You know what you're doing. If someone was to tell you to troubleshoot something, you know where to go to do your troubleshooting. You're comfortable bringing up the command prompt. You can show your IP address, different little tools that you add to your tool belt. Because a lot of times that's all we're doing. Similar to the mechanic that has all the tools in his garage, and you say, oh, this mechanic got a whole bunch of tools, and he probably don't know what he's doing. But what happens is that mechanic knows the exact tool for that job. So that's the same thing we're doing here. Once you learn that operating system, you're going to learn different tools that you add to your tool belt. And then depending on the use case and the need, you're going to be able to pull out those tools to help you resolve those issues. So the first thing is getting those computer basics and the operating system basics down. And then once you get comfortable with that, the computer basics and the operating systems, next thing you need to add on, I would suggest some networking. So some network fundamentals, basic networking. So with this, I'm not saying you have to go out and pursue a CCNA, which I think that's great if you do decide to, but I'm not saying you have to go out and pursue a CCNA, but just getting that basic fundamental knowledge of networking, understanding what IP addresses is, understanding what a subnet mask is, understanding how the subnet mask determines your network. So understanding those things, because all through your career, you're going to see IP addresses and networks, whether you're on the networking side or whether you're in tech support or whether you're in desktop. So learning some of the basic network fundamentals, different protocols in networking, learning how a network somewhere operates is going to help you out along your career path. So learning the basic computer skills, basic operating skills, and then also add some network fundamentals on there. So for this, I'm not saying you have to go out and get a certification. So some people may say, okay, for the computer basics and operating systems, that aligns to the A+ certification. For network fundamentals, that could also align to a Network Plus a CCST networking, or a CCNA. The CCNA may be overkill if you're not trying to go that networking route. But I would think putting these two together is going to give you that basic fundamental knowledge that's going to help you be able to add on whatever else you try to pursue. And then also, since you mentioned about the full stack in your question, I would say some coding fundamentals is something that you can also add on to this. So with coding, and I'm by means no coder at all, but with coding, usually the best language, I say the first language that's always good to learn will be Python. So Python is usually a little bit easier to catch on to. And then Python is one of those languages that's also used almost in every situation, every application. So Python will be real valuable for you. But once you get Python down, then you can start looking at different languages and start to go down that path if that's what you decide to do. So, but first, learning the basic computers and operating systems, and then getting some network fundamentals under your belt. And then also, like I said, if you're talking about going that coding route, then Python is usually what most people suggest to learn as your first language. So now that we got the fundamentals that we need to get under our belt, that we need to learn, the next thing is deciding what resources to use to learn those fundamentals. So the first resource is, this is more of a structured approach. So all of this is going to depend on the type of person you are. So the structured approach, I would say, is the school option. So usually this is probably the best option for most people, because most people, it's hard if you're not already used to it. It's hard doing self-study because you're going to have a lot of distractions. So you're trying to study. You're going to have your buddies on the weekend going out. You're going to be getting invited out to different places. Things going to come up, and you're going to end up putting it off. So unless you're the type of person that can focus, but usually the best option for most people will be the structured approach with going to some sort of school. So because with this, you got due dates, you got assignments to do for that week. So you got something that's going to keep you on task, and also you have your instructor that's going to help to keep you accountable. So usually this is the way that if you're not the person that can self-study and focus on it, like I said, this may be the best option. So as far as schools, I know you mentioned WGU. So WGU, they're more of a competency-based school. So where, if you're going to WGU, the goal for most people is with WGU is to finish fast. Where with WGU, they're not like the typical school or the typical university where you go by semesters. Usually with WGU, you pay for 6 months at a time, depending on your degree. They give you the list of classes you have to take, and then you go in, and however long it takes you to finish those classes, that's how long it takes. So if you go in and you say, oh, I know this information, you can request to take the finals and the test right then. So you can take it, get it scheduled. If you pass it, then you pass the class. So WGU, like I said, is most geared for someone who's trying to finish fast. And with that, that can be a good thing and a bad thing, because like if you're trying to finish fast, usually that means that you're already familiar with that information. So by you saying you're totally new, because most people that I talk to that went to WGU, and I will admit that's a school I'm considering to go ahead and get a bachelor's for networking and security. I already got associates in it. So it's something that I could probably go through, and I'm looking at to finish it fast. So that's what I'm looking for. So, but for most people that I talk to, I often hear that the target audience for this is mostly people that has formal knowledge of whatever major they're going into. So this is something that you just need to weigh out and think about, because I have heard of people who with no knowledge of anything going into it and finishing out and not having any troubles. But also I hear other people that go to it, they often say that they feel like it's more geared towards people that already have some experience and you're looking to further your degree. Because if you already have that experience and you're looking to further your degree, then you're just adding on to what you already have. So you're learning new technologies and taking different classes. But if it's IT, you're already kind of familiar with different terms and everything. So you're not going to be totally lost. So this is something that I would say you would need to think about before you move forward with any kind of commitments or anything. So, but like I said, WGU, from what I hear, is a good school also. Like I said, it's something that I have on my list that I may end up pursuing too. So the next option I have is also a school, and this I would say may be probably the best route also. So usually the school is usually the best route, but with schools, I would say if WGU may not be for you, and like I said, it's not for everyone, then I would just check out your local community college. So your local community college, a lot of times, a lot of community colleges pack a big punch. So you may not realize what all your community colleges may be offering. So I would definitely go to my local community college and see what all they offer. A lot of them, if you decide to go that route, a lot of them may even have something where after you finish up 2 years there, you can transfer to a 4-year college. So this all just going to depend on your time frame. But usually that community college, I say, is going to be the least expensive. Most of the time, you may be able to get some kind of grants or something like that. But most of the time in general, that community college is usually going to be a little bit less expensive. A lot of times they try to help out any local people to the town. So check out your community college, because a lot of times they offer these basic classes also. So they're going to offer a whole degree. And if you decide to go for that degree, or even if you decide to go for a certificate, they're going to offer the classes that's usually going to range from a beginner level on to more advanced. So you're going to have an intro to computers where you're going to learn about the basic computer things, the basic computer shortcuts and things like that. They're going to have that intro to computers. And then also you may even have an intro to Linux class. You may have a class where you're dealing with nothing but Linux the whole class. So you're going to get a lot of experience there at your local community college. So it's all going to depend on your time frame, because usually a local community college, a 2-year degree, like I said, if 2 years go by fast, and like I said, sometimes depending on your community college, they may be able to provide you other resources too that can help you out along your way and along your journey. And my third option, if you decide that maybe WGU isn't for you, and also you check out your local community college and maybe that's not for you too, and especially this one works if you're deciding to go down that coding path. So with coding, a lot of people I've known have had good results from coding boot camps. So going to a coding boot camp, like I said, I talked to a lot of people and I've heard good results about coding boot camps. Now, a lot of times you hear other things that's put in a boot camp. I haven't really heard too much good on those. So, but coding, I think the boot camp thing was basically built on coding. So most of the time the coding boot camps are pretty good, but you pretty much get out of it what you put in. So most of them, it's not going to be any cakewalk. Most people I know that took it, they pretty much didn't do anything for the whole length of that boot camp. But this is where you can go in, and if coding is your passion, this is where you're going to go into that boot camp. It's going to be a little bit of fast pace, but you're going to learn a little bit of everything. And then also you're going to learn different languages. So this is where in this boot camp, you're going down, you're learning different languages. You're going to start to see which language you prefer. So once you find out the language you prefer, then from that, you can start to hone in and kind of specialize in that language and everything around that language. So you can go into that full stack developer for that particular language. So this coding boot camp, now the downside to a lot of these coding boot camps is usually they're pretty expensive. So they're quite expensive. So a lot of times I've heard some in the $14,000 range. You may be able to get financial aid or something like that. But if coding is your thing and you want it fast paced, then like I said, a boot camp, I've heard excellent results as long as you do your due diligence when you look for that boot camp. So make sure you look at the reviews. If there's someone you can contact that has went to that boot camp, contact them also, because like I said, all boot camps ain't the same, but usually for coding, I've heard some pretty good results from a lot of coding boot camps. So my last option as a way for you to get in and start learning the basics of IT and then add it on to that, this last option, of course, is going to be self-study. So this here is going to depend on you. So if you're the type of person, like I said earlier, if you're the type that you can self study and you can stay focused, then this may be your route. The downside to this is that if you're someone that can't stay focused, or you may end up finding yourself going in circles, because you may say, okay, I'm going to start studying this tomorrow. And then you start studying it and you talk to someone, and from talking to them, you totally switch up everything and you go to something else studying. Then you talk to someone and you totally switch it up again and go to something else studying. So it's going to end up 2 years done pass by where you probably could have had a degree if you went to school, but 2 years going to pass by and you're still at step one. So if you decide to go this route, I'm not saying that this route, anything is wrong with this route, because plenty of people have went this route and have had success, but you're going to need to make sure that you have a legit plan and stick to that plan. Now, some resources to help you with self-study, some video resources. I'm a fan of CBT Nuggets. They're pretty good, but CBT Nuggets is not free. So that's one downside to them, but they do have a lot of things, and a lot of their videos is geared towards certification. So to learn the basics, you would probably take maybe a look at an A+ class on one of these websites, because that's going to go into the basics of your Windows PC, breaking apart that PC, and also a little bit of the operating system. So CBT Nuggets is good, but like I said, it's not free. They go on a subscription. Another one that's pretty good that I use a lot is Udemy. Udemy, some people call it Udemy. It's Udemy. So with Udemy, it allows people or other instructors to create courses and put it on their website and sell it. I ain't gonna say it's a hack, but one of the things I like to do is, if I go on Udemy and I find a course that I want to check out, usually I add that course to my wish list, and then I check back maybe a day or two later. A lot of times that course has went from $100 and something down to like $15 or $16. So with Udemy, never drop that $100. So I haven't ever seen a course I wanted where it was $100 and it stayed $100. So add it to your wish list. Usually when you come back, it'll be on sale or something like that. And then also with Udemy, like I said, because it is somewhere that plenty of instructors can put different courses, one of the things you want to check is the reviews. So one thing that stands out, make sure it has a whole bunch of reviews. If it has a whole bunch of reviews, let's say it got 50,000 reviews, and then let's say that the reviews is like a 4.5 or 4.6 out of reviews, the rating. So check out the reviews, because that's going to let you know which course everyone likes more. So usually if everyone's giving it good reviews, 9 times out of 10, it's probably a pretty legit course. So Udemy is a way that you can go by self-studying or self-learning. Another option, and this option is going to depend on what path you decide to go down. So definitely if you decide to go down the networking path, or maybe a little bit of Azure or something like that, or maybe a little bit of security, Bosun, like I said, they do have some resources there too. So with Bosun, mainly the resources they have is going to be geared towards certifications also, but they do have some lab environments. So you will be able to get some lab environments. Usually I think you may have to pay a little bit for it, but they do have some lab environments. As far as coding, I think there's a little bit of Python on there, but maybe with Python, this next option will be a little bit better. So the next option is YouTube. So YouTube, you can find plenty of things on YouTube for free. So YouTube, you can find something on there for free. Check it out. See how you like it. I know a lot of people like I can't get the name out. A lot of people like Professor Messer. He's pretty good with the A+ stuff. I think he has some other resources out there. I know Jeremy's IT Lab, he has some good stuff out there. So you can find someone on YouTube too, and just see how you like it and see if you can stick with it. And a lot of times it's all about finding the person that speaks to you. So most other people, they're going to be pretty good at what they're trying to teach you. But a lot of times it depends on how you receive it. So usually you find the person that makes it relatable to you, to where you can understand it. And then, like I said, that's usually one that you're more able to stick with along your journey. So YouTube is a good one also. LinkedIn, they also have some LinkedIn courses on there. So, of course, you can check that out. A lot of those, I think you may have to have a subscription or something for LinkedIn. And then also, as far as coding, if we're going coding, Harvard has a free coding class called Harvard CS50. And I think it's CS50, but it's a Harvard free coding class. And pretty much it takes you through the process of learning coding, learning language. I think it may be Python or something like that. But I've heard that's a pretty good resource also. And I had it on my list just because it'd be neat to say I went to Harvard for something. But it is free. So check that out. But you have a lot of different elements out there. And that's just the ones that I'm more familiar with. So there's plenty out there. But the main thing I suggest is do your research before you get into anything. Like, even if it's something I suggest, do your research first, because what I like, you may not like. So make sure you do your research first. If they have any free trials, do the free trials, something like that. Because like I said, if you decide to self-study, it is possible. Plenty of people have done it. But like I said, you're going to have to stay focused, because you're going to have a lot of distractions if you're someone that's real sociable. So like me, I'm pretty much, I can self-study, but I'm real sociable also. So I have to kind of plan my time when I'm trying to study, because if I know it's on the weekend or something, usually I'm going to get my studying out the way early that day, because I know that night I may be out socializing or something like that. Sorry to interrupt this video. According to my YouTube analytics, 84% of my viewers are not subscribed. If I provided any value to you in any one of my episodes and you're not subscribed, please consider doing so, as it does help out the channel. And also, if you're listening to this in your favorite podcasting app, please leave me a review and share this with a friend. Now back to the episode. So next, let's look at a potential roadmap that you can follow. So in this potential roadmap, we're just listing out the steps that you can go by to kind of help you get to your destination. The first step, I would say, decide on which learning path you're going to do. So if that's going to be school, a boot camp, self-study, make that decision of what type of person you are and what do you see yourself being able to commit to. Because going out and learning this information, it is going to be a real big commitment. It's nothing that's going to happen fast. It's going to be a pretty large commitment here. So go decide on which one of these routes you want to go. And then once you decide on it, just stick to it. And then second, too, if you decide to end up going the school route, like most likely the school route is probably going to have everything laid out for you. So it's going to have you covering those basic classes within your classes for your major. And then also you'll even have maybe some coding classes in there depending on your major and things like that. So not trying to steer you in the school route, but like I said, it's going to be more structured if this is the route you go, where with self-study, you're going to have to pick and choose which way you're going to study and which one you're going to tackle first. And then whichever route you choose, as you're going through it and you're learning it, take note on what parts you like or what classes you like, and then try to specialize in that particular field or that particular topic. So if you're in a coding class and you figure out that, oh, I took this Python class and I like Python. So go down and try to specialize in Python. Look at what other jobs is out there for Python. May look at a Python developer job and look at what software or what do they need to be proficient in to get that job. Then let's say you're taking a networking class. So if you're taking a networking class and you feel like, oh, this is something that I catch on too fast. This is something that I think I can see myself doing. So then start going down that specialization where you're going down the networking path, where you may start to get some entry-level networking certs. Then after that, you get the CCNA, which is an intermediate. Then hopefully you get in the field. If you aren't already in the field, you get to that particular specialization, and then you start to move yourself up and progress through your career. Same thing with cyber. So take note of each one of these classes that you're taking and then see what you like the best, because that way you can start to hone in on whatever you felt like you liked and whatever you felt like you could get good at. So hopefully this episode provides you some sort of value and helps set you in the right direction. The main key here, no matter which path you choose or which way you choose to do it, the main key is to get started. A lot of times some people tend to, I'm guilty of it myself. Some people tend to get what we like to call analysis paralysis, where You want everything to be right before you get started, where you're saying, oh, okay, I need to learn this first, then I need to learn that, then I need to go ahead and get this. Then you may say, oh, I need to wait till I get this particular laptop because I'm not going to be able to do the course without this laptop. Then when you get that laptop, then it's going to be another reason that you can't do it. So the main thing is to do something. Take that step, get started. Because a lot of times you get that analysis paralysis. You want everything to be right. Trust me, I can tell you now, everything is never going to be right. Nothing is ever going to be 100% right. So the main thing is once you take that step, then things going to start to come together for you as you're taking those steps. The main thing is when you take that step, just be consistent. Consistency is going to be the key here. Consistency is the key in IT. Consistency is the key in almost everything that you deal with, or every goal that we want, every goal that we write down at the beginning of the year that we want to pursue. A lot of that deals with consistency. So the main thing, like I said, take that step, whichever route you decide to choose. All of them real work. There's not one that's better than the other. All of them real work. You just have to find which one suits you. But like I said, don't fall into the thing where you get the analysis paralysis and you want everything to be right. The main thing is just take that step, and consistency is key. So that brings me to the end of this episode. Hopefully you found some value in this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, you can follow me at DebtFreeInIT. If you have any questions, you can email me at debtfreeinit@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, debtfreeinitwithmike.com. Other than that, I'll see y'all next week. Peace.